Yeah, g'day YouTubers, Tinker O'Toole again here with another sharpening video. So this one's a little bit different than the normal sharpening video. So the only thing that I'd probably briefly touch on is the file angle. Typically full chisel uses 25-degree angle on the top plate, so that's 25-degree angle there, or 30-degree on a semi-chisel. The other technique, what I really want to talk about today is some of the bad techniques and some of the bad finishes that people get on their chainsaw cutters' teeth. It's a good idea and it's a good practice, and we'll just see if we can zoom back out here, that when you are sharpening, what I like to do is twist my hand to the left side, and as I push forward, rotate like that. So that is a really great technique. Why? Well, as we're talking, we're going to put 3 pictures up here. This is a steel chain. So the first picture I'm going to put up is the factory grind. We'll have a look at the factory grind. So there it is, the factory grind. It's reasonable, it's okay, it's not perfect. You can actually see some of the grinding lines in there, and it doesn't look too bad and it cuts quite well. The second picture I'm going to put up there is hand filing. So this is done with a hand file, and you can see the lines in there. Even though that I'm still twisting, you can see some of the lines left by the file, very fine lines, but nonetheless it creates a bit of a serrated edge, especially on the side plate. And a lot of the times, if you don't twist the file or you use the file incorrectly, the top plate doesn't get a razor sharp edge, and neither does the side plate. So that's reasonable filing. It's not perfect, but it's reasonable. So the other slide that I'm going to put up, it's done with the Stihl Quick Sharp. That's a little 12-volt unit that you plug in, very similar to a Dremel, except this one's made by Stihl. And you can put either a stone on there, aluminium oxide stone, or a diamond stone, and you get a beautiful finish. Now look at the finish that you get on there. When you get such a good finish like that, you've got a great sharp edge. The sharper the edge that you've got on the top plate and the side plate, the longer it'll keep cutting wood. If you've got a bit of a serrated edge, and especially if you really highly magnify and you go in with a microscope, you're going to see some really bad edges, and they're not going to cut to 100% efficiency. So what I will do is show you a couple more slides, and these are from the file and without any rotation, not rotating the file as you push forward, and you'll start to see some really defined lines in the tooth and some really poor top plate edges and some side plate edges. When you've got edges like that, don't expect your chain to cut perfect. Now, it might only even be 70% efficiency. It's certainly not going to be any much higher than that if you've got poor edges like this. So there's quite a few slides there, so we'll go through a few more and display them. And then you sort of realise that you really, if your chains are looking like this with deep furrowed file gouges in them, you really need to look at how you're filing and make sure that you're rotating the file as you're pushing it through, which will eliminate that roughness. Now, I've never ever been a fan of the Dremel type sharpeners, but what I would say is they leave a perfect finish compared to a file or even a chainsaw grinder. Now, if you are using a grinder, one of the most critical things that I find using a chainsaw grinder is that you should be using a very high quality wheel, at least 80 grit. 100 grit is preferable, which will leave a much, much finer finish. The finer you go with the grinding wheels, you will generate more heat, but if you go a little bit on the slow side, as you bring the wheel down into the tooth, you shouldn't overheat the tooth. That's a mistake that a lot of people make. So yeah, go nice and easy into that. So the first thing to avoid all those lines in there, is to rotate. You twist your file as you push it forwards. This will give you a better cut and reduce those file lines. You can even use, if you want to take the time and effort, I've done it before just out of an experiment, that I put an old file, after I sharpen a chain up by file, if you use a real old file that's worn out, I guess you could call it as a honing. It will smooth the edges out a little bit better because it doesn't bite as much. But yeah, it depends. Yeah, that's double handling. It's doing it twice. And as I say, you've got the diamond bits for the Dremels. They work fantastic. And the 80 grit wheels. So a lot of the times that when you are filing or grinding and you've got all those rough edges, you know, you've only got semi-sharp teeth. You haven't got 100% sharp teeth. Now, if you've got semi-sharp teeth because of poor grinding techniques or filing techniques, you really need to refine them. Now, what I'm going to do is display another couple of pictures. This is ground excellent. Have a look at the edge on the square ground teeth. They are almost, that's as good as what it's ever going to get. That is a beautiful finish on the top plate and the side plate. Not a serrated edge, no big gouge lines. That is a beautiful finish. That's the type of finish that you want to try and aim for your semi-chisel or your full chisel. Not those pictures that you saw with all those big lines in them. So that's what it is. Hopefully this information helps. What I do have, and I don't know whether you can see it, I did show those pictures before. We'll just see whether you can see. That's a tooth done with the Dremel. Come up pretty good. The top plate and the side plate, very, very, very sharp, great edges. So that's what you get with a Dremel. You don't see those file gouge lines on the side here. And very little burrs as well, very little. So, yep, that's what you want to aim for, but you won't get that with a file. You'll only get that with the Dremel type grinder. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.